Hi friends, hello. Welcome to Crack UPSC CSC with India's largest e-learning platform, that is Unacademy. This is Kiranan Shetty, faculty for Political Science, Polity, Public Administration and Ethics. Friends, we are going to discuss today very interesting and important topic for UPSC mains, that is comparison of constitutional system of India with that of other countries. Part 1. In this, we are going to study the constitutional system of US. Then we will compare the constitutional system of India with that of America. This topic has been newly introduced in 2013 when GS syllabus has been changed. Till recent time, UPSC hasn't asked even a single question from this area, but from last mains onwards, it started asking. In last mains, that is 2019 mains, it asked, compare the fundamental rights system in France and the fundamental right to religion, right to freedom of religion in France and right to freedom of religion in India. So this is how UPSC started asking questions from this area. Be careful. It is very interesting but somewhat intricate topic. You will get from Unacademy. You will get daily live classes, live tests, quizzes, structured courses, unlimited access to videos on UPSC prelims and mains. You can prepare with top educators like Tarun Goyal, Roman Saini, Mrunal Patel, etc. You will get videos on UPSC civils and mains on various subjects like polity, issues in governance, ethics, history, etc. You can subscribe for 12 months. If you use my promo code, that is capital KIRAN, you will get 10% discount. And if you subscribe 24 months, it will be all the more better for you, because just for 64,000, you will be getting 24 months of subscription. Please use my promo code, that is capital KIRAN. And Unacademy has introduced new subscription, that is iconic subscription. For 12 months, it is 57,600, and for 24 months, it is 89,100. And if you use my promo code, you will get 10% discount even in this. The specialty of iconic subscription, you will get live classes, test series, unlimited practice with test series, structured schedule, personal coaching, what we call personal mentorship. This is one of the silent features of this great subscription, that is iconic subscription. And daily mains questions, study planner, personalized feedback. Friends, first we will study the salient features of US Constitution. US Constitution was adopted at Philadelphia Convention that was held in 1787, and it came into force in 1789. Great US political thinkers such as George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, they attended this convention. It is greatness on their political wisdom and prudence that they drafted such constitution, which is without error in the history of democracy. The Constitution of US consists of 7 articles, 27 amendments, a preamble, and the entire constitution is of 12 pages. Very concise, friends. You observe only 7 articles, 27 amendments, a preamble, and 12 pages. Rigid constitution. One of the important features of US Constitution is it is very rigid constitution. In India, though our constitutional system is federal system, the states do not have much say in constitutional amendments. Only with regard to some amendments which are of federal nature, such as the manner of amendment of the constitution, the organization of high courts, Supreme Court, then the representation of states in parliament, manner of any change in the manner of election of president, like that. There are around 7 provisions which require the assent of state legislatures to be amended. Large chunk of the constitution can be amended by the parliament itself. And the states in India cannot propose any amendment on their own. Only the parliament has that authority. But whereas in US, every amendment requires the ratification of the states, and apart from that, the states themselves can propose amendment of the constitution. The US constitution can be amended in either of these two ways. First, both the houses of Congress need to ratify the amendment proposal with two-third majority. Then, three-fourths of the states should ratify. The amendment first method is the amendment. Both the houses of Congress need to ratify the amendment proposal with two-third majority, and then three-fourths of the states should ratify such amendment. Paradoxically, friends, here you observe third majority of what? Total strength of the house or two-third majority of the members present and voting. It is not written in US Constitution. Hence, the political convention goes on two-third majority of the members present and voting. Two-third majority of the members present and voting. So both the houses of Congress need to ratify the amendment proposal with two-third majority of the members present and voting. Then three-fourths of the states should ratify such amendment. Three-fourths of the states should ratify amendment. That is first method. And the other method is two-thirds of the states can propose the amendment and they have to send the proposal to the Congress. Congress summons constitutional convention in this regard, and each state will be sending its representatives to such constitutional convention. Then the amendment proposal will be drafted and passed by constitutional convention. After that, three-fourths of the states should ratify the amendment proposal. Three-fourths of the states should ratify amendment proposal. Once again, I repeat, it is little bit confusing. Second method is two-thirds of the states should propose the amendment. That means two-thirds of total 50 states of America should pass the amendment proposal, and they should frame this amendment proposal and they send this request to the Congress. In US, the parliament is called Congress, as we know, and the Congress convenes special constitutional convention. This constitutional convention discusses amendment proposal. Each state will be sending its own representatives to this constitutional convention. They decide, they vote, and they draft the amendment proposal. Then that amendment proposal that has been drafted by Constitutional Convention, that has been summoned by the Congress of US, should be passed, should be ratified by three-fourths of the states of America. Three-fourths of the states, that is, three-fourths out of 50 states, should ratify amendment proposal. Defense. The amendment proposal itself speaks of the rigidity of US Constitution. Because of this rigidity, only 57 times the constitutional system of US has been amended till now. Recent constitutional amendment effected in 2002, and will be wondering, to pass this constitutional amendment, that is 27th Amendment Act, nearly it took 200 years. It took 200 years. But now, earlier what used to happen, that when the proposal used to come, the Congress never used to, stipulate the time period within which the states have to ratify the amendment proposal. Now, the Congress, when it drafts the constitutional amendment proposal, it can stipulate particular time period within which the states have to ratify the constitutional proposal. Out of 27 constitutional amendments, only one amendment was effected by second method. The rest of 26 amendments were amended by first method. Only second, only one amendment was effected by second method. All the other 26 amendments were effected by first method. So this is the method of amendment procedure of Constitution of India. Next, US Constitution is federal constitution. Originally, it was the federation of 13 states. Now, now it is federation of 50 states. It is federation of 50 states. And the Constitution enumerates the powers of the central government, and the rest of the powers are vested with the states. The residuary powers are vested with the states, and Constitution enumerates the powers and functions of the central government. The boundaries of the state cannot be altered by the federal government. That means no state can be divided into two or three without the consent of the state concerned. Unlike in India, where irrespective of the consent of the state, the parliament can divide the states. For instance, erstwhile United Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly passed resolution that they didn't want bifurcation of Telangana from Andhra Pradesh. In the same way, erstwhile United Bihar Legislative Assembly passed resolution that they didn't want bifurcation of the state into Bihar and Jharkhand. But irrespective of the opinion of state legislature, the states have been divided in India. That cannot happen in US Constitution. Even with constitutional amendment, two things cannot be changed in US. Without the consent of the state cannot be divided into two or more. Second, each state has two seats in upper house, that is Senate. So this provision also cannot be amended by constitutional amendment. This guarantee has been given by the makers of the Constitution of US. That is, No state can be divided into two without the consent of the state concerned. Second, each state has two members in Senate, and that provision also cannot be amended by constitutional amendment. Federal Constitution. US Constitution is considered to be the first federal constitution, and it is one of the pure federations in democratic world. After US Constitution, Australia is considered to be pure federation. After Australia, it is Switzerland. These constitutions are considered to be pure federations. Pure federations means what? The states will be having autonomy in their functioning. They will have their own constitution. They will have their own citizenship, and they will be working totally independently in their respective subjects. Whereas in India, our federation is federation with strong center. Next, very, very important feature of US Constitution is supremacy of the Constitution. In US, the Constitution is fundamental law of the country. What does it mean? Any law made by any legislature, should be according to the provisions of the Constitution. If the law made by any legislature, whether it is federal legislature or state legislature, and the decisions of the executive are not according to the provisions of the Constitution, the Supreme Court of US can shut down such law or such decision of the executive as ultra vires. Ultra vires means against the provisions of the Constitution, and that particular law or that particular decision of the executive will be declared null and void, not valid. Supremacy of the Constitution is the first constitution in the world which introduced this concept of supremacy of the Constitution. Here we should note it. You may pose one question. US Constitution is pure federation. Then can the Supreme Court of US shut down any law made by state legislature? 50 states are there, no? Any law made by state legislatures can be declared as null and void by the Supreme Court of US because it is pure federation, no? The Supreme Court of US has any authority on the law made by state legislature. Doubt you may be entertaining. By 15th Amendment Act, the Constitution of US bestowed the Supreme Court of US with the power to have judicial review on the laws made by state legislatures also. By 15th Amendment Act, the Supreme Court can examine the laws made by state legislatures as well. And if any law made by state legislature is to be against provisions of US Constitution, that law of state legislature will be declared null and void by the Supreme Court of US. So this is supremacy of the Constitution. The Constitution of US is fundamental law of the land. Any law made by any legislature should be according to the provisions of the Constitution, and any decision taken by US President or any governor of the state should be according to the provisions of the Constitution. Otherwise, that decision will be struck down by Supreme Court of US. If we observe in recent times, two important decisions of Trump government have been declared null and void by Supreme Court of US. Immediately, when Trump government was elected to power, Trump declared that even green card holders from Islamic countries cannot enter into US. Immediately, the Supreme Court of US shut down the decision of US president. After that, Trump government, I think a year ago, took the decision that the spouses of H-1B visa holders cannot do job in US. That decision was also shut down by US Supreme. So this is primacy of the Constitution. Then judicial review. Judicial review is mechanism to enforce supremacy of the Constitution. There should be some authority, no, to examine whether the law made by the legislature, whether the decision taken by the executive are according to the provisions of the Constitution or not. There should be some authority to examine. And that authority is the Supreme Court of US, which has judicial review authority. Judicial review refers to the authority of the judiciary to examine the laws made by the legislature, whether they are according to the provisions of the Constitution or not. And this concept of judicial review originated in US. And the concept of judicial review is implicit in US Constitution. This concept of judicial review originated in epoch-making case, that is the case Madison versus Marbury. Madison versus Marbury, 1803. In this case, the Chief Justice of US Supreme Court, Justice John Marshall, declared that the concept of judicial review is implicit in Article 6 and Provision 2 of US Constitution. The concept of judicial review is implicit in Article 6, Provision 2 of US Constitution, which says this Constitution shall be the supreme law of the country. This Constitution shall be the supreme law of the country. That's what Article 6, Provision 2 of US Constitution says. Yes, Justice John Marshall, in that epoch-making case, Marbury versus Madison, 1803, declared that judicial review in US Constitution is implicit in Article 6, Provision 2. We adopted concept of judicial review from US Constitution. And paradoxically, in both the constitutions, in US Constitution as well as in Indian Constitution, concept of judicial review is implicit. It is not explicit. It is implicit. Concept of judicial review is implicit in both the Constitution, in US Constitution as well as in Indian Constitution. In Indian Constitution, it is implicit. The concept of judicial review is implicit in Article 13, Article 32, and Article 245. And Article 245. Judicial review in US. Friends, in previous class also, in my class on the salient features of Indian Constitution, we discussed the concept of judicial review in detail. The philosophy behind judicial review is that the way any monarch, the way any feudal lord, the way any aristocracy can perpetrate inhuman atrocities on innocent people, in the same way Fully elected legislature can also perpetrate inhuman atrocities. This fact was realized by forefathers of US caste because they reeled under the colonization by British people. They were also subjected to British colonization. During that colonization, they were subjected to many atrocities. They realized this fact that the way any monarch or any feudal lord or any aristocracy can perpetrate inhuman atrocities on people, in the same way, duly, duly elected legislature can also perpetrate similar kind of atrocities on innocent people. Kind of effects that can be there on the part of any feudal lord or monarch can also be there on the part of duly elected legislature. Because US got freedom from their British masters in 1776. They announced a declaration of War of Independence, and they got freedom around in 1783. But full-fledged form of parliamentary government was formed in UK in 1688 itself. In 1688 itself, full-fledged form of parliamentary government was formed in UK. But on the other hand, US people got independence from British colonization in 1780s. That means for more than 100 years, they were subjected to slavery by parliamentary form. Because of this, they realized that the citizen should have protection not only from the arbitrary action of the executive, but also from the arbitrary laws that may be legislated by any legislature. This is the political philosophy behind judicial review as well as fundamental rights. We also, the greatness of our constitution makers is that we also realized the way any monarch like Shah Jahan, he killed the husband of Mumtaz Mahal and he forcefully married Mumtaz Mahal. Firoz Shah Tughlaq burnt a Brahmin alive in Chaurai for broad daylight just for saying that the essence of Hindu religion and Islam religion is same. For that, such kind of gruesome punishment was meted out on that individual. Alauddin Khilji. The world knows the cruelty of Alauddin Khilji. Such kind of cruelty, such kind of atrocities which are there on the part of any cruel monarch, despotic monarch, cruel feudal lord can be there on the part of duly elected legislature. In fact, we also realized during British rule for all the atrocities on, on Indians after Government of India 1858 Act, because Government of India 1858 Act transferred the authority of ruling India, the authority to administer India was transferred from East India Company to British Crown. And British Crown is just nominal executive. The actual authority lies with the Council of Ministers headed by British Prime Minister. And there used to be a British cabinet minister who was in charge of Indian administration, Minister of State for Indian Affairs, who was member of British cabinet. Under him, there used to be Viceroy. Under Viceroy, governors. Hence, ultimately, it was parliament democracy which was responsible for massacres on Indian innocent people, such as Jallianwala Bagh massacre, the atrocities, untold atrocities that were perpetrated on prisoners in Kalapani jail in Andaman Nicobar Islands, the kind of atrocities that used to be perpetrated on farmers in Champaran district of Bihar, the women of farmer farming families used to be abducted by Britishers to force the farmers to cultivate indigo, a cash crop, instead of cultivating grains. Even when people were reeling under massive famines, see the cruelty on the part of parliamentary form of government. Jallianwala Bagh massacre. General Dyer was summoned after that gruesome killing to England, and he was awarded, he was facilitated, and he was respected by British Parliament itself. All these facts bear grand testimony to the conviction that the way any monarch, any feudal lord, any aristocracy can perpetrate inhuman atrocities on people, in the same way, the elected legislature can also perpetrate inhuman atrocities on innocent people. That's why we need to have protection from the arbitrary and cruel laws that are going to be legislated by the legislature. This is the philosophy behind judicial review and the philosophy behind fundamental rights. The judicial review in US functions on the basis of due process of law. On the other hand, judicial review in India functions on the basis of procedure established by law. The judicial review system in the world can function on either of these two principles, process of law and the procedure established by law. When judicial review system functions on the basis of process of law, the judiciary can check not only the procedure in which the law has been made, but also the purpose behind the law, the suitability of the law. That means when judicial review functions on the basis of due process of law, it can question not only the procedure in which the law has been made, but also the legislative wisdom behind the legislative law. Whether the law made by the legislature is suitable to the society or not. Whether the law made by the legislature is in the larger interest of the society or not. Whether the law made by the legislature is just and it is not draconian, that can also be decided by the judiciary when judicial review system functions on the basis of process of law. That's why the saying is there. The US Constitution is what the Supreme Court of US makes it. US Constitution is what the Supreme Court of US makes it. That means because of this judicial review functioning on the basis of due process of law, the judiciary is supreme compared to the legislative and executive organs of the states in organs of the state in US Constitution. Judiciary is more powerful because the judicial review functions on the basis of process of law. Next, US Constitution is Republican Constitution. That means the head of the state is elected by people. The head of the state, that is the president of US, is both nominal executive as well as real executive. He is both nominal executive as well as real executive. Spoil system. US political system is characterized by spoil system. What is the spoil system? Spoil system means the party which wins the election, the members of the party will be awarded with top federal posts, top federal bureaucratic posts. Once again, I repeat, spoil system means the party which wins the presidential elections, members of that party will be awarded with the top federal bureaucratic posts. For instance, in India, the top bureaucratic post at union level, such as Secretary Finance, Secretary Defense, then Cabinet Secretary, Secretary to Prime Minister, Principal Secretary to Prime Minister, Secretary to HRD Ministry. These bureaucratic posts are top posts in Indian administration at central government level. Such top bureaucratic posts at central government level will be awarded to the members of the party which wins presidential election, which wins presidential election, which wins the presidential election. Because of such kind of allotment of top bureaucratic posts to the members of political party which wins the presidential election, there was rampant unemployment. There was rampant unemployment. This rampant unemployment led to assassination of one of the presidents of US, that is Gary Field. President Gary Field was assassinated by one unemployed youth. Because of such unrest on the part of people, Pendleton Act was passed in 1883, which abolished spoil system in US. Pendleton Act 18 1883 abolished spoil system. But even after abolishment of spoil system by Pendleton Act of 1883, even now 20% of the offices are under this system. Even now 20% of federal offices will be given under spoil system. Fortunately, we are not emulating this practice. Then the US Congress is bicameral legislature. Bicameral legislature means it consists of two houses. Upper house, which is called Senate, and the lower house, which is called House of Representatives. The upper house, that is Senate, is the most powerful upper house in the world. It consists of 100 members. They are elected for 6 years. By 17th Amendment Act, the election of senators was made direct. Earlier it used to be indirect, but by 17th Amendment Act in 1913, the manner of election of members of Senate has been made direct. Every two-third members retire every 2 years. One third members of the Senate retire every 2 years. And it is the most powerful upper house in the world. Why it is most powerful upper house in the world, we will discuss after a while. House of Representatives, which is the lower house, it consists of 435 members, and they are elected for 2 years term. Now we will discuss the legislative procedure. The ordinary bills can be introduced in either house of the Congress, and in case of constitutional deadlock, joint conference committee will be formed. Ordinary bills can be introduced in either house of Congress, that is Senate or House of Representatives. In case there is disagreement between both the houses with regard to passage of any law, then to resolve that constitutional deadlock, joint conference committee will be formed. Joint conference committee will be formed. The joint conference committee consists of 3 members from each house, 3 members from the Senate and 3 members from House of Representatives. It is taken for granted that because of superior legislative skills on the part of the members of the Senate, generally the opinion of the Senate will prevail in joint conference committee. Generally, the opinion of Senate will prevail in joint conference committee because of superior legislative and deliberative skills of members of Senate. But even in joint conference committee, there were to be disagreement, then the bill will be dropped. The bill will die. If no agreement has been struck down in joint conference committee. This is how ordinary bill is passed in US Constitution. Now we will discuss special powers of the Senate. That means we will discuss why the upper house of US Congress, that is Senate, is the most powerful upper house in the world. First, important presidential appointments such as the appointment of judges of Supreme Court of US, appointment of ambassadors, diplomats, appointment of ministers, cabinet ministers, all such kind of important appointments made by the president should be approved by the Senate. Otherwise, that appointment had to be dropped. That appointment has to be dropped. Important appointments made by the president of US should be approved by the upper house of the Senate, that is upper house of the Congress, that is Senate. Then important treaties that have been made by the president of US have to be approved by the upper house of Senate. Important international treaties that have been made by the president of US have to be approved by the Senate. Then announcement of war and conclusion of wars have to be approved by the Senate. Recently, US attacked on Iran. So there were speculations that US is going to wage war against Iran. Immediately, the Senate legislated, the Senate issued one announcement, that is, the president cannot wage war against Iran. The Senate made a proposal that the president cannot wage war against Iran. Otherwise, the Trump could have attacked on Iran. He could have waged war against Iran. But Senate prevented it. Senate, passed a resolution that the president cannot wage war against Iran. See the power of Senate. This is recent example. From this we can understand the power of Senate, the upper house of US Congress. Approval of any announcement or conclusion of war has to be ratified by Senate. Senate acts as house of impeachment. The important constitutional functionaries such as the President of US, the Vice President of US, the judges of Supreme Court of US, the diplomats, against them, the Senate can, pass impeachment by which these constitutional functionaries can be removed from the office. The proposal of impeachment has to be framed by House of Representatives. Then framed charges will be passed to the Senate. The Senate investigates into the charges made against these constitutional functionaries, and if the investigation committee finds fault with the constitutional functionary, the impeachment motion will be introduced in Senate, and if the Senate passes the impeachment motion with two-third majority of the members present and voting, that constitutional functionary stands impeached and he will be removed from the office. This is how the Senate acts as house of impeachment. Apart from this, Senate can act as investigation house. It can order investigation into allegations of corruption, allegations of scam in any administrative department or ministry. Are you getting? The Senate on its own can appoint investigation teams or investigation committees who could look into the alleged scams or alleged corruption in any ministry or administrative department. Then the Senate has control over the purse. That means the Senate has control over the passage of budget and passage of money bills. Money bills in US they call revenue bills. Revenue bill can be introduced in either house of US Congress. In Senate, the revenue bill has to be introduced only in House of Commons. But the Senate has co-equal powers with House of Representatives with regard to passage of revenue bills. That means the Senate can reject or it can amend the revenue bill. This is how the upper house Senate has control over the. So these are some of the silent features of US Constitution, friends. In our next class, in our next session, we will discuss the rest of characteristics of US Constitution. Very, very interesting and important. Please follow the session. Thank you. Please subscribe Unacademy and get 10% discount by using my promo code, that is capital KIRAN. And if you want these PPTs, please subscribe to Post Telegram link. Thank you. Thanks a lot.